All right, doing a little bit of prep. It is Sunday, August 4th, 1:20 p.m. Eastern Standard. Taking a look at the charts and just kind of mapping out the week. What positions are of positional interest? What are positions of tradable interest? And I want to start off by also mentioning something because I'm in a couple of different trading communities, and I've actually noticed one of the guys that's more successful on the crypto space has made a lot of significant life changing wealth, I would say, in Bitcoin in the earlier days. It's often good to think about, you know, are people consistent? Do they have a consistent track record? And are there certain things that you can learn from those people? Or is there sometimes a scenario where somebody did just get extremely lucky? Now, this isn't to say that just because they get a call wrong once or twice here and there that there's no value to be derived from anything they say. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is it's important to look at if people are consistently correct in terms of their trading strategies. Is there a net positive, or even though they've got a certain amount of wealth, maybe they did just get lucky in that instance. You know, they have one lucky break that really changes their entire portfolio, and there's not really a lot of a consistent track record or anything that you can learn potentially from those people. So I'm going to bring that up in a second here in terms of Bitcoin, but I think there's the notion that I've personally followed that I think is really important. It's strong opinions, weakly held. So strong opinions in terms of like, you know, when I'm looking at positions that I might want to trade this week or positional interest, I want to have conviction in terms of like, hey, if I'm going to go, long on cotton, if I'm going to go long on oats, I'm going to go long on palladium, I want to have a pretty tight idea, a pretty strong, tight knit opinion of why the stock is going to, or the commodity is going to move in that direction, but weakly held in terms of, hey, if the market starts to tell me I'm wrong, then I will quickly change my opinion and I will either exit that position or consider going in the other direction and going with the trend. The trend is your friend. So it's having strong conviction for these, potential moves and why I'm going to enter a position, but it's not holding those opinions so tightly that, if the tape, right, if the market tells me that I'm wrong, it's not holding on to that. Well, yeah, let me just add, I'll double down, I'll add more to the position because I know that I'm right. That's, you can't fight the tape. You can't fight against what the market's telling you. The market's trying to teach you a lesson. The market is telling you that you're wrong, then you need to be able to just get out. And bankroll management is just so important here. You don't want to be doubling, tripling up on losing positions and then, cutting your winners too early. So just something really important to point out here. So anyhow, with that said, let's take a quick look at our positions of positional interest. We'll start with Australian dollar, which is a position we're in on, and we're currently updating our order here that will take effect when the market opens here. But we're actually looking to exit this position now. We're going to probably move our stop in pretty tight to this 618 Fibonacci level, and we'll probably turn that to a trailing stop. And then if this thing continues to rip lower, we'll just grab more profit. If it starts to reverse here, then we'll get out. And the reason being is this position is no longer of interest to us given our recent updated data on the Australian dollar and the commitment to traders report. If we go Australian dollar, we are back to neutral on a number of these positions here, specifically the small speculators going down to 48. That breaks us past the midline of 50. So now there's not really a competitive or compelling advantage for us to be in that position anymore. So we're going to plan to get out on our last two positions here. Really, really great trade. I think the risk to reward on that one ended up being like a 5-1. We ended up getting about 5x return on the amount of money that we risked, which was really, really great. And we did take profit on one of the three positions earlier in the week. The other positions here that we're looking at, so we're still in on the pound. This thing is just having a really monster move to the downside. It had a little bit of a V recovery, but I expect this to continue down. And Swiss franc we're still in on, which just ripped to the upside, which has been really, really good trade so far. I mean, this thing I think is now up about 4.5-1 in terms of our risk to reward. Pound I think is at about 4-1 risk to reward, which is really great. 4x return. I mean, if we're getting trades like that, we could be wrong, three out of our four trades, and if we're getting a 4-1 return, we're still making money, which is just phenomenal. Other things we're looking at: Canadian dollar is just, I think, continuing to go lower here. It's set up for us to go long, but we're just not finding a bottom in reversal. So we're just going to hold out on that for now. Um, kind of hide and watch on that one. If it gets substantially lower here, I mean, it's just going to make the risk to reward even more compelling once we actually get a news signal to actually enter and go long again. Cotton is set up, but very similar here. It's just continuing to rip to the downside, and there's a pretty strong resistance line here. But eventually that will break, and I think we'll probably catch an entry on a breakout. I don't think we're going to be catching an entry on a lower low here. We're going to try to wait for that breakout and a news reversal. Oats is set up or close to it. Not necessarily looking to get in on that position right now. Very similar. Chart's just going lower and lower. There's some pretty strong resistance here. We'll see where that goes. We're waiting on a news reversal and confirmation to go long. And same thing here with gasoline. Gasoline, from an index standpoint, it makes sense for us to get long, but from an overall position, this thing does have room to go lower, and it's not, from a net position, completely crowded on the short side from speculators. So um, if we get in on this, it's going to be a really tight stop, but we're going to need some confirmation of a reversal here. I don't like on our Williams percent R indicator that we're very much oversold right now. I would like to see that at least reverse before we enter a position here. So a reversal, breaking back into this normal range, and then kind of confirming to us that we are catching an upside move here. If it continues down, it's going to continue oversold, then it's just going to continue to go lower. So we need to wait for a confirmation there of a reversal before we can go long. Coffee, I'm not going to walk through right now. I think it's set up in terms of our indexing. It makes sense for us to go long, but the net positioning is not there. So when we look at an index for the commitment of traders, we are looking at, a certain subset of data here in terms of, for energies, maybe we're doing a 3-month look back. So how crowded are speculators versus commercials from a 3-month look back standpoint? And then, as we can see in unleaded gas, it's a really great long opportunity here. Everyone on the speculator side is crowded short. But if you look at the net positioning, so not just the 3-month look back, but the overall positioning, unleaded gas actually is not, it's actually pretty neutral when you look from a net positioning standpoint. And I'll actually put that up for a second here just to show what that looks like. So from a net positioning standpoint, this is gasoline. So the indexing we just saw was completely crowded, but it's actually pretty neutral here across commercials, non-commercials, and small specs. So not really the greatest opportunity, in my opinion, until we really get confirmation of reversal there. Other things we're looking at, palladium. I like palladium at these prices. We are trying to very similarly catch a reversal here. And I think I like this bottom wick where it ripped back up here. I mean, anything around 850 to 870, I think is a good level to get in at, but we are going to have a tight stop, and we're going to want to make sure that this is reversal, having a reversal confirmation for us, because there is a really good risk to reward at these prices if we're correct and we catch the right up move. Emerging market index is actually looking really good from a short positioning standpoint, and I'm also seeing a head and shoulders here. I actually drew a chart that I shared with the trading community a little while ago today. I'm going to pull that up really quick on the MMEs. Let's see if I can get this up on the screen here without sharing too much. There we go. This is our head and shoulders of this chart. So I see as potentially getting down to about a little bit above 5,200. We're probably going to enter a short position on this if we get a little bit of a retest to this now resistance line, but previously support. If we can retest this and get rejected, I think we're going to jump in on a short position there on the emerging market index. The VIX, we're probably going to stay away from. It's just too crazy in terms of volatility, but just insane upside move this past week on the VIX, which is really interesting and a little bit scary for the markets if we think about it. S&P similarly, there is a head and shoulders pattern that we are seeing form here. It's not as strong or as kind of well pronounced as the emerging market index, but I'm seeing a head there, a shoulder here, and a shoulder here, and a potential move down to about 52.15. So yeah, I think we might end up doing similarly if we can retest, get a little bit of a bounce, opening up trading on Sunday into Monday, and then get rejected. Then we're probably going to head back a little bit lower here on the S&P. Gold, we're in on a short, and our stop is the all-time high. So half size position, nothing crazy here. We're going to see if this gets rejected and trends lower. Very crowded position on the long side for speculators, and I think a good opportunity here in terms of risk to reward. However, we could be wrong, and gold may continue higher. So we may end up, yeah, we may end up getting stopped out here. I may also end up rotating into a long position here if gold does start to rotate up. If we're testing new all-time highs, I think we're going to go into a trend following system, and we're going to probably get in on a long entry. But really TBD on that. I should probably just stay out of it if I'm not certain if it's going up or down. But I like the setup in terms of commitment of traders. I like that speculators are very much long here and commercials are going short. So I see an opportunity there. Last two are nat gas. Nat gas, I'm looking at a gap fill on the daily, continuing lower. Don't like the positioning here. There's a gap here, so we're probably not going to look at this until we're at about $1.80 and lower as a potential opportunity. And this is actually a multi-year low. I think like over 5-year low back in February 2024. So yeah, we've got some room that we can continue going down. And then Bitcoin is about to open at about 58,000 today. That's the current pricing chart. These are futures, so it's not actually showing until the market opens. But this is actually going to have a pretty major gap down to about 58,000 right now, which is filling a gap that I had highlighted previously, but didn't know when it made sense to enter. Didn't want to enter short. I'd rather wait for the gap fill and then potentially rotate long. So we're looking at maybe adding long entries here. Not that the gap is going to be filled. Let's see if I can get a Bitcoin daily chart opened here. Yeah, so Bitcoin price right now is hovering at 58,000. So just kind of cratering over the weekend. So yeah, that's going to fill the gap, potentially set us up for a long opportunity. We will see, but that's what we're looking at for the week, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Thanks a lot.